All right, welcome back to Off the Tap. This week is episode 89, and we're doing Bombshell Hefeweizen from Southern Star Brewing Company.
For those that are wondering, I don't have pink eye. I don't know why
If
you
you're
guys
watching.
would be, but no, I just have, I think some types of little hairs, the ones that are around your eyes, they're in it. The fuck is that? An eyelash?
Eyelash?
Yes.
Yeah, you got
Yeah,
it. Oh,
bro.
okay.
I was struggling. I was
Uh,
struggling. Kind of like
yeah, that was a struggle bus that you were on, brother.
I was driving that bitch. Foot wrist. Okay, Southern Star Brewing Company, Bombshell Hefeweizen. So the old Conroe classic. We've done some other Southern Stars a bunch,
We,
right?
we've done quite a bit of Southern Star on here. It's obviously it's very local to us, really local to me. It's like 15 minutes, 10 minutes from my house.
Close to the house.
Close to the house. So we do a lot of Southern Star. I love Southern Star, really. But they're going through a little bit of a rebrand, it seems.
Yeah, all the way around, right? I mean, first off, the cans look. I know that I don't think I've ever had the Hefeweizen. I think it's new, probably.
I think it's one of their new
Um,
beers, yeah.
but yes, this is definitely a different look to the can. I think they didn't have a ton of consistency with some of their other cans, right? Like,
No, yeah, they were pretty. We've talked about this before, I think, with craft breweries,
yeah,
where they're all like crazy art sometimes, and not really similar. So it's kind of like, oh, that's a Southern Star. Like I didn't know that, right? But it seems like now they're maybe trying to transition to be like, oh, there's Southern Star. I wonder what beer it is. You know what I mean?
yeah, because we talked about that with like Stesty. We talked about that with
Mm,
Eureka Heights. We talked about it with a bunch of other folks. Either there's consistency in the can, like in the can art, or there's consistency with the name on the can, regardless of the can art. I think
yeah.
Southern Star, for the most part, has kind of been all over the map.
Yeah, they've had some and also some crazy art.
Um,
But they seem to be doing like kind of I don't know what their tap room is closed down for renovations. It's been closed down for a little bit now. Um, so I don't know if they're doing like a full on rebrand style, where they're redoing everything over there, or if it's just maybe a little bit of renovation. I'm not really sure.
so confirmation that for sure I don't want to say rebranding, but revamping the tap room. That is 100% happening. As far as brand consistency across different beers or rebranding existing beers, we don't know for sure. We're just
Yeah,
making some assumptions.
yeah, a little bit of assumptions here. We don't know all those details. This is coming in at 5.2 ABVs.
Yep.
And the IBUs were unlisted online, so I don't know if it says on the can or not. But
Damn, should we get that was something I was very interested in because I had a conversation with a different brewery today, and they mentioned that they had discontinued a couple of their IPAs because the IBU um, was very low for an IPA, and they kept getting like customer feedback. They're like,
mm,
"Oh, how am I drinking an IPA that has like a 38 IBU?
right,
Like,
it
what the
should be
fuck? It's
higher.
not." Exactly. And so I was like, "Oh, but we had this beer before. I'm not gonna name the brewery or whatever because obviously we're focusing on Southern Star, but we had this beer from this brewery, and I was like, or at least I had, and I was like, oh my God, it was delicious though. Like we all knew it really wasn't an IPA, but that didn't matter.
Mm,
And I guess they had enough customer feedback that was saying, hey, it's an IPA, but the IBUs are so low that it's not really an IPA. We were tricked into buying it. And I was like, okay, well then don't fucking buy it again.
yeah,
Like
don't ruin
let
it for
it
everybody.
exactly. And so she had mentioned that it was one of the two that they discontinued that were both of pale ale or IPA. I think they had a double and they had a regular that because the IBUs were so low. So I'm very interested in what the IBUs are on this, but can we get just we don't do this and we should just a ballpark of what a Hefeweizen should come in at uh
Mm,
IBU.
yeah, no, yeah, we should definitely do that. That should be part of the judging parameter. I feel like
Whoa.
maybe not judging,
American
but something.
um
It should be a comparison regardless.
it's very low.
Hmm.
8 to 12.
I mean, that kind of checks out. I feel like they're not super
Yeah,
bitter to me.
I guess so, but I mean like I guess it's just so crazy cuz like pale ales are don't pale ales seem just so elementary compared to like an IPA, and a pale ale's 35 to 40.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's three times, I mean, shitty math, but yeah, three times that of a Hefeweizen.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Either way,
Pretty
let me take
insane.
a little. I'm gonna take a little sip first, and then we can dissect and further navigate um, what's going on with these cans.
I mean, it smells like a Hefeweizen. I give it that. It smells good.
Yeah. Okay. It is. It's very sweet. Or in my opinion, it's very sweet. You know what? Man, this is gonna sound bad. I enjoy it. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay. But it reminds me of when I was like really young. I got one of those beer brewing kits,
Yeah.
and I like brewed some beer at the house.
I think I tried
And
this.
yeah. Well, I mean, this might have been round two. I'm talking like
Oh.
I was
Oh,
like
okay.
20, I think.
Oh.
This
Yeah, no,
first
I
round.
didn't try that one.
And it tasted very sweet because I forgot to do one part of the process. I don't remember what it was. So it's basically like drinking sugar water that had alcohol in it.
Hmm.
And this kind of, I mean, I'm not saying this tastes like that, but it finishes kind of like that. Not that it was a bad thing. I just knew, like, you know, I just drank it and was like, I don't know if I fucking did the directions right. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, there was just something in the back of my mind that was like, And so I get that vibe the way this one finishes. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, yeah. I also know that, well, I mean, I think you've told me before that you kind of go through phases with your wheat beers.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of wheat beers pretty much all the time. So,
Okay, so I get that. I thought I was that way too until all of a sudden I woke up one day and I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna get some I'm not gonna name the brewery, but there was one that up north in Texas. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna get some of that because a buddy's been telling me that it's phenomenal, and I got it and I was like, I'm never gonna drink this again, and also I'm gonna tell everybody that this is a terrible brewery and you shouldn't drink any of their beer. I feel a little guilty about that now. I still stand by it because most of their beer was shitty, but I feel a
listen,
little guilty about it.
I don't think your word of mouth with your few buddies is really hurting their business very much.
Well, I mean, they did close down, so there's a chance.
Maybe maybe it was you.
No, I don't think it was me. I think it was the product. I was just telling the truth about the product. Okay.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So I do go through. I didn't realize I went through phases until that happened. So you're an all day, everyday wheat guy, or could be.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't necessarily like. It's not like my first choice, but I will drink them any day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, I think I've stated multiple times on this podcast that my first choice is a Bach by far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would definitely, if I see it on the menu, I'm like, ooh, they got a Hefeweizen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll do it. It's also really fun to say.
Isn't that weird?
It's yeah. I'm from Holland.
Holland.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, it's kind of fun to order. You kind of feel like kind of makes you feel like you're drinking craft beer, you know?
Yeah, it feels real, right? Because I think, and we might have talked about this before too. Even though there's certain other places in the world that are heavy beer consumers, like when we think beer, if we think beer in the U.S., we think Wisconsin. I just do. Okay.
Okay.
Number two, if we think beer in the world, like it's the Germans. Like that's their, you know. And so when you walk into a bar and you say a word that has German vibes, you just feel like it's the real deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, like nobody walks in and is like, I'll take a Smirnoff Ice. Like, you don't feel confident with that.
And you definitely don't say that in a German accent.
No. But I was just thinking of Beer Fest.
You know.
Oh, Americans with your Smirnoff Ices.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. But when you order a Hefeweizen, you're like, yeah, can I get a Hefeweizen? You know, you get real like, nasally, real like gritty in your voice.
Like, well, it's just like Giada when she's like, Yeah, so you're gonna put the noodles in. Make sure to use a little bit of the pasta water because you wouldn't want your Alfredo to taste slightly different than. And
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
what, bitch?
yeah,
Why did it sound like you just did an overdub from a speech translator?
yeah.
Like that's what it looks like. Anyway, but yes,
Let,
Hefeweizen.
let me get the Southern Star Bombshell Hefeweizen.
Hefeweizen.
You
To go,
know,
please.
to go. Yeah, can I get that in a to go cup?
Yeah.
Red
Ah,
Solo.
I noticed that you guys seasonally have the Hefeweizen, but you don't have it year round. So, but let's talk a little. Let's back up a little bit to your whole branding thing because we didn't dive deep. I got a couple of things I want to talk about. One,
Mm,
um, this is a true story, right? I had a difficulty finding this one, and I don't know if it's
mm,
because it's new. So there's three things that could be going on here. One, I don't know if it's because it's new and I ended up finding it at the Heb, but there was a couple of other places where I'm able to find pretty much everything around here. It was not there, at least so I think, because here's what's going on. One, after we discussed, I found it pretty quickly in the Southern Star section of the Heb.
yeah.
But this was not what I was. I knew I had never seen their Hefeweizen because I don't think that they had one,
I don't think
and
so. I was gonna mention that earlier. I don't think they've ever had one.
I don't think they have. I mean, I'm unaware if they have. But I hadn't had theirs, so I wasn't familiar with what the can looked like, and so, but I wasn't expecting it to look like this can, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. I don't know how to put that. Um, so that happened, and then the second thing was it difficult to find at the other places? Or was I just looking for a can that didn't exist because I was unaware of what the can looked like? I don't know.
Right.
I don't think so because most of the stores around us, and thank everybody for it's like they unanimously agree like we're competitors, but we still need to have certain things that are laid out the same way, and it's beer
Mm,
aisles and bread aisles. Okay, you're
yeah.
gonna go you're gonna go bagels, buns, then bread, then tortillas. Like that's the fucking standard bread aisle. And
Yeah.
then beers are the same thing. Like if they're Texas based, yes, there might be a Hefeweizen, there might be a Bach, there might be a Pilsner, there might be a seasonal, there might be a Shandy, whatever. But we're all gonna put them together because they're all made by the same person. We can break
Yeah.
the rules for all the mainstreams, but for craft brews, let's stick them together.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I found it. But yeah, so this one was a struggle for me to find, and there's a couple of reasons why. One, it doesn't look like a Southern. I know this sounds cheesy, but it doesn't look like a Southern Star can from a distance, and it was right
Yeah.
next to the
Well,
other ones.
well, it's because of the rebrand.
That's what I'm saying. Like, do you? Okay, so put a pin in that for 2 seconds. The second thing was you didn't mention. It's not your fault, but you didn't mention that it was the Bombshell Hefeweizen
Yeah, I just said
because
Hefeweizen.
yeah, so I assumed that they were gonna have that shit front and center. You know what I did grab today?
Well,
Um, Into the Woods because they had it. It was right next to it.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Anyway,
jealous. I'm jealous.
so Southern Star, shout out again to the fact that you guys had it when I was looking for this, and honestly, I kind of got pissed off. I was like, "What the fuck, Southern Star? How do you not have the Bombshell Blonde, or how do you not have the Hefeweizen over here?" And then I was like, "Man, I'll take some Into the Woods while I'm looking." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so okay, I didn't know it was Bombshell Hefeweizen for the next reason, which is a further rabbit hole when we talk about branding. In my mind, the Bombshell is only associated with Bombshell Blonde because it's a
Yeah.
Bombshell Blonde. Like with the whole rebrand, we chatted a little bit about this, but with the whole rebrand, are they gonna have different? Because like they have an amber, they have Into the Woods, they have a couple of they
Buried
have
Hatchet.
Buried Hatchet. They've got whatever the strawberry one is.
Isn't that the strawberry blonde? Bombshell strawberry blonde?
Strawberry Blonde, okay, but again, it's not Bombshell.
I
So
think it
I only
is.
is it? Fuck man, I'm gonna have to go
No,
on the website.
maybe not. We'll look, but maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
So anyways, does this mean now that there's going to be different? Because I just assumed that the Bombshell was always going to be a blonde. But
Yeah.
does this mean that they're going to have the Bombshell Hefeweizen, the Bombshell
I think there was the Bombshell
IPA, the
IPA. Yeah.
Bombshell Bach, the Bombshell? Are they going to start doing it like that? So they're going to. I think that I do think they're going to standardize like with the little tag. We've talked about this exhaustively. They're going to
Yeah.
have the Southern Star tag at the top for every can. I don't care if it's the Bombshell Blonde or
Which
not.
I like.
I do too.
I like
I
it.
do too. But I wonder if they're going to start building out, like, maybe Into the Woods has some variations. Maybe
Mm.
Bombshell has some variations. Maybe, I don't know. It would just be interesting to know. What are your thoughts? You think they're going to do that? Or you think that they just were like, hey, so maybe something in the like what makes is Bombshell just branding,
Right.
or
That's what
is
I
it
was gonna
because
say. Is maybe it's whatever they're using, right? Maybe it has
yeah,
to do
that's what
with
I'm
their like
saying.
ingredients, or maybe also they were like, "Hey, we're releasing some new beers with the new, branding.
And
Bombshell Blonde is our biggest seller. Let's make another
yes.
Bombshell thing." Of course, we don't know. Just speculating, but
Yeah, so a couple of things on the oh yeah, dude. They've got a Bombshell. Yeah, this IPA too.
yeah, another new one, the Bombshell
Okay.
IPA.
Yeah, man. And the website looks different
Hmm.
a little bit. I think they're gonna get yeah. I
Going
think they're
going
gonna
full on.
yeah, I think they are. Buried Hatchet. They got the stout. Southern Brunt is the citrus shandy. The strawberry blonde is the same chick, although slightly different, which is very important for us to talk about in a second. Um, oh, I see what they did now. It
What?
makes sense. Um, not with all the full can branding, but like earlier I mentioned to you, when I look at this, I get St. Pauli girl vibes from the chick that's riding the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's not. I mean, she's the same chick as the one that's on the Bombshell Blonde. She's just got a different getup on.
I see. It's kind of like a St. Arnold's
It's
thing they got going on a little bit.
it's Lederhosen because it is right.
It's German. Yeah, I like
And
that.
so that's why I get St. Pauli girl vibes. Now, I don't want to, judge here, but what is the lady? Maybe for a different episode, but there's a lady wearing something on the Bombshell that's on the IPA. I don't know what that is, but
I don't know. That's interesting. Where did IPAs
um,
originate? Maybe that's what it is.
India.
Re Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay, so if everybody was not blown away by that just transpiring, let me bring something else to your attention. Earlier, when I was like, "Hey, the chick on this can for Bombshell Hefeweizen gives me St. Pauli girl vibes." This is not a lie, not a story that I'm making up. R- Randall responded with,
What's that?
"What is St. Pauli's girl
Yeah,
exactly?"
yeah. Listen, man. Also, I should do a little callback right now. Obviously, I didn't research enough because the IBUs are listed on their website and it's 14. So,
Oh, so does that align with? Let me look at my other tab. Yeah, it's at the. I mean, so it's right there. It's
yeah.
right on par.
But yes, I have not had a St. Pauli's girl. Nor do I even know what a St. Pauli's girl is.
Dude, so it's basically first off you should Google the label. But it's
Okay.
basically the same. You know where I stay when I talk about Carlsberg, when I talk about 1446s, right?
Yeah.
Um
16,
40s, yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, okay. And then Grolsch, Heineken obviously still gets
Oh
like a
yeah,
cliche
it's a St. Pauli's girl
vibes, right?
vibe for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I looked up
It's
St. Pauli girl and the Polly Pocket pulled up on Google, so that's fun.
not even remotely related, I wouldn't imagine. But yeah, St. Pauli girl. I get those vibes, but you know what? I kind of get those vibes from the OG Bombshell Blonde as well.
Oh yes, yeah. See, with the
Just
OG,
the Texas style.
the OG Bombshell, I kind of get not really, obviously, but I kind of get like you remember that like the OG it was either World War I or World War II chick that was like we're fighting back home.
Rosie the Riveter?
Yeah. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know her
Yeah.
name. But yeah, I kind of get those vibes with the OG Bombshell Blonde. Also, it was 1664. That's the beer we were trying to think of.
1664. Oh yeah, she is exactly. Look up Rosie the Riveter. It's basically the Bombshell Blonde.
Yeah.
It's 100%. I mean, she doesn't have polka dots on her hat, and it's not a headband, but same thing. Um, so
Yeah.
they're on the website, at least for the time being. The Bombshell Hefeweizen and the Smash IPA are considered limited or seasonal. So
Yeah, so they're going to be the seasonal ones for sure. Yeah, and the strawberry blonde is a bombshell. Well,
yes.
it doesn't say
Oh, but they
bombshell, but
had
it's got her on it.
yeah. So they had okay. We might be way off here. I mean, obviously, I like the branding at the top, but the retired beers, they have a Bombshell Wit that has a very similar layout to this can.
Oh,
They have a
really?
Bombshell Pills that has a very similar layout to this can. Um,
Oh, they do. They do.
a Russian Imperial Stout.
But it
Um,
seems
that,
like, I'm based on their posts on social media as well. It seems like they're going through a rebrand for that. But maybe, we could be wrong. They could just be doing this for these beers,
no, I
obviously.
agree. Also, dude, I don't see the original. You and I have talked about this, and I know you're tired of me asking, but like, I don't see the original Amber, like the OG. They don't even have it in the retired section.
Is that like a
Like,
super OG one? Because I've never had it.
dude, it's the first one that I ever. It's the first one they ever had. And it
Mm,
looks very similar to the winter warmer or to the can or to the Oktoberfest, but
mm.
it was just their amber and it was in tall boys only and it was a brown maroon can. And it was like when I first had it I thought it was terrible, but it's delicious now.
Yeah, now that your palate has been refined,
Yes.
do love me a good amber.
um anyway, I'm gonna see if
There's some other pictures of it somewhere.
yeah, if I could find
Maybe
another
you're going
picture
through a
of it.
little bit of a what is that called when like someone goes back in time and changes things? The
Like a
something
1984 situation, or
No,
are
no,
you
no,
talking
the
about
something
the
effect. Mandela
Mandela
effect.
effect?
Yeah. Maybe like it's
uh,
something you remembered but now it doesn't exist. Like the bear stain bears.
no, I think this is a for sure thing because, dude, they used to have a old school. I cannot find pictures of it though. So,
Uh-oh.
shoot, did I make this? There's no way I made this up. I'm gonna do the research on the side and get an answer for you, guys. But yeah, dude, there
My
used to be.
hairline's going, your brain's going. Look at that. Your memory.
At least I guarantee you, mine's not moving quite as fast as that hairline, though. Okay. Southern
Oh
Star
man.
Original.
Yeah, I got the Usain Bolt of receding hairlines. That thing is going, brother.
Windsor. Oh, here it is. Boom. Actually, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It was called the Pine Belt Pale Ale.
Hmm. So it
Yeah,
wasn't an
Google that.
amber.
No, it was the Pine Belt Pale Ale. I'm sorry.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's not
dude.
on here either, though.
No, it's not. And it was their OG. And it, like I said, it was only sold in tall boys. And yeah, that was there. That had the old Southern Star, like they haven't made it since they had the original Southern Star like emblem and all.
Mm.
It was not a very attractive can. Did you
Oh,
see it?
really?
Are you looking
About
it up?
to. I'm looking it up.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's a very standard beer can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I kind of like it though, honestly.
I mean, dude, I do now. Like, I wish I could find it now, but after so they put this out first, and I think it was the only thing they had for a while, and then they put out the Bombshell Blonde, and then the Bombshell Blonde obviously became their flagship. What? What are you laughing
Yeah,
at?
this no, it kind of gives me the vibes of like, because when did they put this out? Let me ask this. Do you remember like around the time they put this out?
Ah, man, maybe
I mean, roughly when you
oh,
had it, I guess.
08?
Okay, that's
Why?
kind of the vibes it gives me. It gives me like early 2000s vibes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this to me looks like it could also be like an early 2000s like Budweiser can.
You know what I get? I get this is gonna be a little bit of a rabbit hole, but we need to follow it. Okay. So we all know like The Simpsons now, and we all
Mm.
know Family Guy now, just like the quality of animation. But like go back and watch a season one.
Oh
Okay?
yeah.
like that feel, like the way that it's just the way they move and the way that it's sketched and like the coloring and the shading, it's all just trash compared to
Yeah.
the new stuff. That's what I get with this. It's
Same
like
thing
you
with
took
South
Southern.
Park. Same thing with South Park.
Exactly. Exactly. This is like the season one of Southern Star, and then like we're used to the bombshell blonde that we have now, like crisp
Mm,
lines, clean colors, nice printed cans. But like back in the Gap, they just had a dude back there fucking scribbling on the cans
yeah.
with a crayon. That's the
Yeah.
vibes that I get.
You know what it's giving? You know what it's reminding me of? A little
What?
bit? Miller High Life.
Why?
Just like because like the colors, well, I mean, at least in this picture, I don't know, but like the colors on the can are kind of,
Are you
I
talking
mean,
about maroon can?
not, I don't mean like the color. I mean like the way they look kind of faded. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
like a
yeah,
Miller
yeah.
High Life can. They like a Miller Light, right? Is more like crisp of a can. But
Yeah,
then you
yeah,
go to the
yeah.
Miller High Life and you're like, this thing feels like it's been in here for like 20 years.
Dude, you do. You look at it and you're like, was this can supposed to be white or was it supposed to be brown?
Yeah.
Or was it supposed to be like, because this tan color is not a natural tan color. This
No.
tan color looks like you took something that was like off white or white and you left it in a real heavy smoker's living room.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Or
And
when
honestly, that's where most High Life cans end up anyway. But
or
go
when
ahead. I'm
or
sorry.
when like you bleach white shirts too much.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it starts to kind of yellow a little bit. That's what a Miller High Life can reminds me of.
Or it's a white t-shirt that's been bleached the hell out of, and there's a guy that with a real sick tan wearing it, but it's so paper thin because it's been washed so many times that the color of his skin is bleeding through the shirt.
Yeah, yeah.
And honestly, every single one of those situations, they're either holding a Miller High Life or they're traveling to and from a location that is prevalently known for having Miller High Lifes. I'll be
Miller
honest with you.
Miller High Lifes and Tall Boys
Yes.
specifically. Yeah.
I mean, is there any other dude? I think that Miller. I don't know. They do have that fancy bottle, but yeah, it's one of those things. Anyway, so the Southern Star, call to arms, Southern Star. Seasonally, maybe you should put out the Pine Belt Pale, unless there was
Hmm.
some type of like
Bring it back.
copyright fallout or something. You should pull out the Pine Belt Pale because we all need to relive it again. I
Even if
think
it's like
we
a
got.
even if it's like a limited release thing, bring it back for the OGs, you know?
Yeah, just seasonal or in anniversary. I don't know when Southern Star started or how long it's been around for, but like they should bring it back. Yeah, dude, I think they had a couple of different variations of it. Yeah, so they had the summer saison. They had the conspiracy theory. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah. Is that not around anymore?
No, it's not around anymore. And then they've got the stout, but they had the pale ale when they had that one. I mean, the Pine Belt Pale, which I'm assuming is a pale ale. They had that one when they had that one. So,
No, the
um,
conspiracy theory was one of my favorite IPAs, dude.
yeah, it's gone.
It's not even on their
There,
retired list either.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, as part of the rebrand, just erasing history because we don't appreciate that Southern Star. I'm only calling you out because I need you to bring back the Pine Belt Pale.
I'm only calling
Um,
you out because I'm a little butthurt right now. Is all it is.
anyways, all that being said, at the time I didn't appreciate it, and like at the time we had lifted some. Obviously, we had lifted some off of somebody, and I don't
It
think they were super cold, so that was another thing. But I was like,
mm,
oh, I'll never drink those again. And then, 10 years went by, and I was like, I drank another one. I was like, that's delicious. But obviously, at that point, I wasn't living. It was only like when I would come back to like home because we were living
yeah,
in a different state or whatever.
you were right. It probably did come out in 2008 because they were founded in 2008.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was like right when they came out. We went to well, I mean, we don't need to get into the details of it, but anyways, we were in a pasture out that way a bit, okay? Off to the old, I guess that'd be the east of 75 south of town. But anyway, um and that's where I had it for the first time.
Yeah. Needless
Yeah.
to say, enjoying it. Um, or we've always enjoyed Southern Star. Really. Uh, I'm all. Is this if this is the rebrand they're going for style wise? I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
We've said, we like to be able to differentiate brands, especially in the craft aisle. Man, I
Now, they've
appreciate the art sometimes, but I want to be able to look down the aisle and be like, that's where the Southern Star stuff is. Obviously, we are like conditioned to it, so yes, we do
Yeah.
know. But in general, you can look and just see like a square of all these designs. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know if like looking online, I think it's 50-50 if they carry this further
Yeah.
than just these two releases, but they've always had Southern Star written kind of uniquely. They've always had the
Yeah.
rings around the top. The other thing that I think is very like it's interesting you bring this up because like we're conditioned to it not only because we're like let's say hometown folks basically for the most part, Conroeites
Hmm.
or whatever kind of, but like where they're located, it's basically and it will anyway. All that being said, um like we've conditioned ourselves, we drank a lot of it, it's readily available in our grocery stores, but dude, to me it's very like when you see a beer, like even I will, even when we lived up in Dallas, like we'll see a beer that's very very prominent in Dallas, and when I first moved up there it was like looking at like Russian street signs. That's
Hmm.
fucking weird looking, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like we've talked about this a ton, like now I approach them, but like I didn't approach them then and everybody was drinking them and I was like that seems like a really weird beer, and they were like no it's not, it's kind of like I'm sure Shiner was like that back in the day, like many many years
Yeah.
ago too, like competing against the Giants. It was just very weird to see something that everyone else accepted, but I was like, it seems slightly out of place. Turn
Yeah.
signals in South Louisiana. Like, you know what I'm saying? Those
Hmm.
kind of things. They're just you don't people don't see them a lot, and so they just really it's kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing when like you're getting into craft beer, regardless. I feel like it's kind of like
Yeah.
a an area you've never visited. That's just all it is. It's all new.
But one thing that it has, I think, okay, you're right at first, and obviously we've settled into Southern Star. We've settled into. I'm getting there with Lucky 19. I think we've settled in with
Hmm.
some other craft breweries too, where hey, whatever they put out, we're like, I can look at like we talked about this. I can look and be like, oh, that's a Eureka Heights. I don't know what it is because it's new, but
Yeah.
it's a Eureka Heights, right? Or hey, that's a Southern Star. I don't know what it is, but it's new. It's a Southern Star, right? So there's a lot of brands that do that. But I will tell you this too. It also there was a time in my life where, like I said, when we were up in the Dallas area, this many, many years ago, where I would be like, I'm not familiar with like the way that's written or that font or the color or the graphic. So therefore, like, it's not my thing. Now I'm like, I do really love cans. We've talked about that exhaustively, but now I'm like, I don't give a shit what's on the can. Like, bring it home. We'll give it a shot. And I
Yeah.
think that's just through years and years of just event like conditioning myself to different cans. You know what I mean? There was a time where I would have been like, "Oh no, 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 no! I have to know what's in it in order to bring it, in order to experience it." And now I'm like, I don't give a shit. What is it? Fucking white can with red crayon? Bring it to the house. We'll pop it open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get behind that. I mean, I feel like I'd be kind of that way with the Into the Woods back in the day. You know what I mean? I would have seen
Hmm.
that can and been like, I don't know, it looks a little bit wild.
Yeah, not for me.
But
And then
now
we would have never, yeah.
would never stumbled upon that beast of a beer.
Um, And the crap. So the one other thing that I would share that's because we're coming off the cusp of it. We do a lot of craft beers here. We do other beers too, right? But um, it's the craft brew. So the craft brew conference, the annual craft brew conference, just finished in Vegas. This I think it was last week. I think it finished on Thursday or Friday. It wrapped.
Thanks for the
Um,
invite, guys.
so yeah. Listen, we're gonna start pulling sponsorships unless we get a letter.
Yeah.
If only
This
we
is
had if
this
only
is
we had a list
ridiculous.
longer than none to choose from. But
Yeah.
yeah. So it jumps around place to place, but it's getting so large that it's having to pick. And we're talking anything that supports craft brew. It could be canners, printers, obviously food safety folks. It could be anything, right? Suppliers, merchandisers, distributors. Um, but it's getting so big that honestly, as a collective, it's starting to have a presence. Like obviously not like a lot of like the InBevs or AB or whatever, but like it's getting important enough to where as a collective they're kind of trailblazing some other new things when it comes to like canning, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to regulation, availability, things like that. So power to you, craft brewers.
Yeah. Keep it up. Let's really really focus on the availability. I think that's huge.
Oh,
Let's
you mean
get
like distribution, like where it's
yeah.
at?
Yeah, let's get some
I,
craft beer all over the place. I'm ready for that.
actually, so that's a good point. So that's a good point, and it brings me to a question we didn't necessarily have planned to ask, but I do want your opinion. So there's certain things that we drink into, I'm thankful that their Shiner is mass distributed now. Still, every drop of it. Have you seen the new billboards?
I've seen some of the billboards that are promoting their new beers,
Oh, I love the
but
one that says "Still not brewed in 49 states."
wow,
Big
that's
fan.
good.
But anyway,
Yeah,
because again, that speaks to us. But so Shiner is mass distributed now, and I'm thankful for that because like I think that it should be beyond Texas, and I'm proud of Shiner, and I think it has a place in my heart, and it's great, whatever.
it's the
But like,
true Texas craft beer, baby.
correct. But what do you feel like? How do you feel about distribution? Because there's a mixed bag. I talk with some people, and they're like, "Oh no, I love this beer so much, and I love this brewery so much. It should only be available in Rhode Island or whatever, or Georgia or whatever." Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I get selfish, but also I'm the same way as you kind of allude. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I can understand like wanting it to stay local for two reasons. One, because it's just like it makes it feel like it's yours a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Like this is my experience. Y'all come here to taste it. Come
Right.
experience it for yourself, right? And then the other reason being, I feel like when you start to distribute too much, right? Maybe the beer. Let's take for example Whataburger. Okay,
Okay.
Whataburger as Texans, right? We love Whataburger. Okay, Whataburger is was like the Texas thing forever, and then they got bought by a Chicago company so that they could expand and go more, go across the United States more, and the quality went down. It's
Yeah.
not as good anymore. It's not as consistent. The meat doesn't taste as good a lot of times. A lot of things are bad. I feel like the same goes for beer, right? You worry about that whenever it starts to become mass produced. They already produce a lot for the areas that they are distributed in, right? But when you start to distribute past that and have to make more and more and more than you're used to, I feel like quality will probably go down. Quality control will go down because you're having to fill so much and get so much out. So I can
So
understand that for both of those reasons, but I still feel like as someone who can't really travel easily, right?
yeah.
Like I can't just be like, I want to go to Rhode Island and try some of their beers. It would be a lot cooler to me if I could get a lot more of those beers here. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
really
So
try them.
I don't think there's any rules against, at least in the States. I don't know about coming from Canada or Mexico. Well, I mean, there's no rule. Anyway, I digress. But coming from Canada, I just don't know. Like, you can ship beer, right?
I don't
Can
know.
you buy it and ship it? I mean,
I
come on.
don't think so. Because remember, there was a couple weeks ago where you and I were trying to find a beer. Okay. And
Yeah.
I looked for it and I found it, but I couldn't get it shipped to me to Texas. I could only have it
Yeah.
shipped or picked up from a place in Georgia.
Yeah, you're right.
And then
Okay,
someone
so
would have to ship it to me, like someone that I knew would have to ship it to me. And technically, I think you're not really supposed to ship beer anyways, like from person to
yeah,
person.
I don't know the nuances on that. So maybe that's the relief that the craft brewer industry needs. Online sale, and collect the taxes, and shipping can be outrageous, like
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, obviously
I,
readily available would be better.
I
But
mean, I
like
would pay it.
we're a far cry from demanding that they have it cold and ready in every gas station when it's brewed at a small mom and pop in Upper Maine or something like
Right.
that. Where that's not what we're saying. We're
The
saying,
the profit margins would not be enough for a lot of breweries to do that.
yeah.
Right.
So
Clearly.
I'm the same exact way. So I feel you loud and clear on a mass production and on the risk that has to quality and the risk to experience, because that's risk to the brand too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think the thing that we're overlooking when we have this conversation is we're thinking selfishly from our end because we want to taste it, but like
Hmm.
that's a hell of a burden on a brewery itself, right? If they're brewing it, if they're canning it, there's shelf life, there's supply chain, there's who's going to distribute it there, because again, you have to be in cahoots with somebody that's willing to distribute, because you don't have the infrastructure that stretches that far, let alone the ability to mass produce and yada yada yada. So
Hmm.
I think there are a lot of things that that it makes it difficult for the actual brewer itself. But here's what I think. Here's historically how I have been exposed to brands that now I seek out when I go to their home territory because I travel a ton. And so there's a chance that I'm always in the home territory of a beer that I found here or that somebody turned me on to here. Because I bump into people all the time that are like, oh, you've got to try this XYZ, but it's only available in, northern Massachusetts. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's a chance that I'm going to be there. And so then when I get there, I'm like, oh, this is the beer that I should taste. So I actually do get around to it. But aside from that, what I think has happened to me many, many times is I have their flagship here. The one that is their tried and true, right? So like if Southern Star all of a sudden started shipping, I was gonna try to pick like a place that was way out there, but like I don't know why they would start with Montana. Nobody's shipping shit there. I'm not even sure they're shipping food there.
I don't
But
even know if they're
all right,
shipping people there. You know?
yeah. So like if Southern Star, they're probably big export list. But so okay, so Southern Star was trying to like really get out and about. They would take the Bombshell Blonde, and back in the day, the old Pine Ale.
Yeah.
But they would take the Bombshell Blonde for sure, and what else? What do you think else they would take? Maybe the Stout.
Probably their Buried Hatchet. Yeah, that's probably
Okay,
their second most popular.
so Buried Hatchet, and they would take Bombshell Blonde, and those are the ones that they would venture out with more. Those are the only two that it would be available. Maybe one, maybe two. Venture out so that people get hooked on those, and then they go, "Oh, what is Southern Star about?" And then they make the journey, the old awesome vacation to Conroe, Texas, and see the rest of what's going on. Like I think I get hooked that way. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah,
you taste their flagship and you're like, "Oh shit, what else do they have?" How many times have we done that even on this podcast? When we
yeah,
drink something that's non-Houston based that we're not even familiar with, we like drink it and we go look and we're like, "Oh shit. Look at all the other things they have. Can we
mm,
get them here?" No. But will I seek them out when I go there? Absolutely.
yeah.
Also,
That's
too,
true.
I'm sure that folks outside of their state and outside of their city aren't the ones keeping the lights on either. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
no, yeah, for sure. That's what I mean. It kind of feels like yours, as a local place.
but I don't. I guess the difference is this. I've met a lot of people who are like, "Oh, well, you can only get it here, and it's like our thing." That's a handful of people. But in my opinion, like I know we're not from Shiner, and it's saturated the state long before we even picked up a bottle, both of milk and of beer. Um,
Yeah,
But like I'm happy that other people get to like I'm just as proud that people in Washington are like the state are like, oh yeah, I like Shinerbach. Like that makes me just as proud as if it was only available here and people trekked in like they do for fucking Spotted Cow and that's trash. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
That's
don't know.
true. I mean, I understand that, and that is a good way for, I guess, people to kind of venture, like breweries to venture out without, you know, worrying about overhead so much with other beers.
And now that we talked about because you mentioned the same exact thing, I think when we talked about the Carbach buyout, we talked about another situation too. Like I would never. I know it gets tough. It's hard to be a craft brewer. Okay, like Southern Star, congrats, 2008. Like we're coming up on a 20. I mean, in 4 years it'll be 20,
Yeah,
right?
16 years.
Exactly. Like that's a solid run for a group of guys that were just packed off in a set of pine trees somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty
Um,
impressive.
It is. And so it's very, very difficult. And so selling out, I know to them it seems like the end of the world, but you don't just sell out by going to someone like an InBev or like a AB or all the big mass producers. But also, I think once you start getting in with some of the powerful distributors too that are getting you everywhere, you probably think about a band, right? When you're playing shows that are like local shows in your own van, sharing a sandwich with five other fucking band members for 5 years. Like, that's what all craft brewers live day in and day out. Like,
Yeah,
please God, don't catch a flat. Please God, say that there's free boiled eggs at the hotel, kind of thing, right? Um, you don't shift gears to like being the stadium headline. Like your next beef becomes you lose a lot of like what you can and can't do whenever you go to that mass distribution. So that band gets a manager, and yeah, there's all the free beer you want, but you got to fill in for this. You got to do promos here, wake up to do the early morning radio shows, and all the things that come with it. So, power to the craft brew nation. I'm sorry that this tugged at my heartstring enough to include this here, but I'm just passionate about it because this is, I think I didn't realize that Southern Star has done, at least in my lifetime, 5 or 6, like, not ups and downs, but 5 or 6 reinventions of themselves very effectively.
Yeah. It's been
And
received
we're
really positively every
part of
time.
this next one. Yeah.
The thing I kept thinking about whenever you were talking about the bands, like just having to do things, right, for their manager or whatever. I saw a clip a few weeks ago of like back in the day, I think it was the Foo Fighters, where they were on like MTV or something. It was like a live MTV show, and they were like, just go, like, you're gonna go out and pretend you're playing. We're gonna play the music in the background. And they were like, well, that's stupid. And so they went out and they did it, but they did it like very obviously. Like they were
Yeah.
very clearly not, like the guitarist was like, his hands weren't even on the guitar. The drummer was just like drumming air, and at one point lost his sticks and was just, playing with it. And the singer was just butchering the lyrics, like just singing horribly. And I was like, that's the stick it to the, that's why they were good. They stuck it to the
It
man,
is.
you know?
That's what I'm telling you.
They didn't follow
And I,
the rules.
and I think craft brewers very much are so too. And I wish there was everybody always jokes now, like, oh, there's one on every corner. And you know what? There is. And there's going to be those like Southern Star that stand, I mean, knock on wood, but stand this test of time. I think fucking 16 years, if you did the math correctly.
Yeah, I mean, if we got, 4 years until 20.
Yeah, whatever. So 16 years is a pretty solid run, and they're going to continue and be powerful. And then obviously there's those that paved the way before that have been around much longer. Um, but it's tough out there. I don't think we dilute anything as much as people want beers. I don't think we dilute anything by adding more people to the pack, because those that are good at it, the Southern Stars of the world, and so on and so forth, like they're going to continue to make it through.
Yeah.
Because they probably have a little bit of the old stick it to the mandiosis.
Yeah, they
You
got
know
to
what I
stick it to
mean?
the Mondiosis.
They got the old stick it to the mandiosis.
Yeah, and a lot of, they're popping up all over the place, which, I mean, I enjoy, right? Because I like to be like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I'll go in and try some. But I think a lot of those places, like, I mean, I might be wrong here, but I feel like a lot of, like, the smaller breweries that pop up like that, obviously they're in their infancy, but I feel like some of those places just kind of open up for fun, you know? Like
Oh, I would
it's
imagine.
just a group of people that enjoy brewing beer, and they're like, let's share it with people and just worry about making enough to live. You know what I mean? Like we don't have to worry about expansion of any kind.
Well, I think some of it too is like, so I mean, like I love to cook, but like ultimately my thing, and like thought that it was something that I wanted to do for a career, and like, do I regret it? Absolutely not. But it's still in my mind sometimes. I'll think up something and I'll be like, man, I really wish, like, obviously my family and friends can taste it, but I really wish, like, your family and your friends, unless you got some good ones, which I do, they're not always going to tell you the truth, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how some of the craft brewers are too. They're like, hey, we brewed this beer, and like their friends are like, fucking free beer? Yeah, it's delicious. Of course it is, right?
Yeah.
But like until they go out and test the world with it, and then it becomes something big, like you don't necessarily know. Um, but it's the same way with like being a chef or being anything. Like I think you truly just inside want people to like, dude, the way to somebody's heart is just food and beer. I mean, I don't give a shit who you are. Like the way to make I don't want to say that. The way to make any person happy, okay? Whether they like you, whether they trust you, whether they don't, whatever, food and beer are a very good way to make people happy. And there's
Yeah.
a very selfish, albeit not, there's a very selfish thing for that food producers and beer producers get to experience by making people happy through what they produce. Um, that I think fuels
Yeah.
a lot of people. I don't necessarily need to make, I mean, obviously I got to make a living, but I don't necessarily need to make money on it. But like that chemical get back that I get from making people happy is what drives me to do it. I think the same way with music. I think maybe craft brewers are, again, there's a lot of correlations here. We could do a whole separate episode. Let me get a whiteboard first. that correlate music, very, very
Right.
intelligent and very solid music manufacturers. Um, all the good bands didn't set out to be famous. All the good craft breweries didn't set out to be famous. They just liked writing music, thought it was fun, and figured that they should give it to other people. I think that's how craft brewers are too. They're like, hey, we
Yeah.
made this because we're passionate about it. We thought it was kick ass, but I'm tired of my girlfriend telling me everything's delicious. So let me get it out to the masses. And then they got it out to the
Yeah.
masses. And in most cases, the masses was like, hey, this is fucking terrible. We're never buying it again. And so those ones piddle out.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the masses go, hey, the pine ale? All
Mm,
right, but the bombshell's significantly better. Stick with that.
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, that's exact. I mean, I say that only because, there's breweries that have been around near us as well. There's two other breweries in Conroe, actually a few, but two specifically that I think of that make good beer that I enjoy that I can't really buy anywhere.
Yeah.
One in particular, a pretty big one in Conroe that I enjoy going to. We've had some on the pod because you can buy them there, but you
Yeah.
can't purchase, in a store anywhere. And I think they're fine with that. They're big. They're doing well. They're always packed when I go in. It's a good local hangout, and I just think that, like you said, they're just happy with sharing their inventions with people, and they're happy to partake in that with them.
I mean, I would say even amongst them, like let's say the folks at Southern Star had a conversation with the folks at where you're referring to, right?
Mm,
I like the way that we just like I know it's not shady, but anyway,
it's not
like
really that big
let's
of a
say that
deal.
yeah, let's say they had a conversation. I think I think they're both in different ballparks. Like the guys at Southern Star were like, "Hey, we're fine just being a tap house. We want people to come here. That's why we're renovating it." Like, yeah, we want to add food to a menu or have local trucks or whatever. Like, come here and support folks. We want people playing at the brewery, but we also are in it to have as many people experience our canned beer as possible. We were the first to can in
Yeah.
somewhere.
I
I
I
think
think I think in Texas.
in Texas, yeah. So like which is crazy to think 2008. What were we fucking bottling before? It
Well,
doesn't
they
matter.
were
All
the
I'm saying,
first craft to can, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
But
pretty sure. I mean, I'm Shiner might have been the first craft brewery, but I think they were only bottling. I don't think they were canning.
that is true because we didn't have the box till way later.
No.
But anyways, long story short, um, I think I I forgot where I was going with it, but
Southern Star was is interested in,
oh yeah,
as
so
many
they're just
people.
as many people trying as possible. Whereas like this, the other brewery you're talking about is more like, hey, yes, we brew because we want to brew, but we generate a decent income from this, and yes, we do sell sixers and growlers and stuff like that. But our mo is having people on site and on grounds and doing events and supporting
Mm,
community. Like I think it's just what they get into it for. I don't think either one of them's wrong.
no.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's just whatever they want to do. I think that's what's cool about it. That's why I'm glad these little places pop up where you go in and they have like five different beers to choose from, and that's it.
One more question before we move on though. Um, do you think that we are partial? Because there's a lot of, I mean, we've done this a lot, right? What do we say? This is episode 89?
89. Yeah.
Okay. So you've done this 89 times, okay? And then I would say, just for safe estimations, let's multiply your consumption of craft brews, the podcast times two, right? So you've done at least, let's say 90 for easy math. You've probably drinking at a minimum 180 craft beers, give or take,
Yeah.
right? Let's say. Okay. So not all of them are delicious, okay? And not all of them are places that I would go back to, and not all of them are things that I would seek out. We have that argument, or we at least make that statement at the end of every episode. So do you think that we're partial to some of the ones we've named? Obviously, this is Southern Star of the Week, but the other three, four, five, six that are really hometown favorites that haven't sold out, that are still true craft breweries. Do you think we're partial to them because we're from here and we have access to their full product line, or do you think it's because they're good?
Um.
Because again,
Well.
there's ones here that I will not go back to, and there are ones elsewhere that I love that I've had in different states, and there's ones in those different states that I also won't go back to. So that's why I'm interested.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think maybe partial a little bit just because of proximity, I guess, right? Like I
Mhm.
can go to it, I can try their other things, whatever. But I think I have favorite breweries near me for different styles of beers, you know? Like I think I think Southern Star is good at like the classic beers. I think they're good at, they got the good blonde. They got this Hefeweizen now, which I'm enjoying. They've got, they have one of my favorite stouts in the Buried Hatchet. They got a lot of good things.
I don't think I've even had it, man. I'm gonna have to go
Oh,
grab
dude,
some. I should have grabbed some today.
it's great on. It's well, I've never had it in can, but on tap, it's great, especially in colder weather. But again, that just might be being biased because it's here, you know. And there's other places here that have incredible sours. Every time I go there, I want to just drink their sours the whole time. That's what I do. Um, so I think I'm maybe like partial a little bit, but I think it's based more or less on taste and what I want, you know. Because I've
Yeah,
had
I get.
sours from places all over the states, and I think they're delicious.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few sours that I don't. I would have never said that before, and I used to be like, that's sour. But now, dude, I'm like, it's sour. It's fucking
Oh,
going down.
yeah,
I don't feel that way with IPAs anymore. Um,
yeah,
but
yeah. They're hit or
so
miss.
so but I guess I would say this, like, I have had, um, I have had some. Have you had a Southern Star that you didn't like? I'm not putting them down, but I'm just saying, like, that's a good temperature check of.
I've had some. I've never had one that I was like, ugh, no, I'll
Yeah.
never do it again. But I've had some that I'm like, it's okay.
Okay.
Um,
Because like I think that's a testament to like to if we're if we're biased or not. Because like I know I joke about Galveston and whatever a lot, but like I think there's one. Like I'm not partial to them. I think I'm pretty honest, but like there's one that I have that's like okay. But like I do look at Southern Star and go, the only one I think that I haven't so I definitely haven't had the bury the hatchet yet. I can tell you, I'm probably, a shandy's a shandy. It's gonna be hard. I'm not gonna dislike the strawberry blonde, but like, I don't know if it's gonna be as good as some of the OGs. We'll see.
I like them.
But the only one that I have like had a little bit of like a I could do without, like it wouldn't have fridge sat, but I haven't purchased it since was the winter warmer.
Yeah, that's the one I was gonna say. Is probably the one that
Okay,
I'm like
so
indifferent about.
it makes me think maybe I'm not so biased. There's some others in the area like the one you were talking about. The one that we definitely need to get to that's located very close to our Podna that has the largest jersey in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
That one there for a second, like pretty much everything that's come out of there at this point has been good, surprisingly.
Hmm.
And I tried like a bunch of them today, like
Yeah.
five different ones today. Um, in the store at least. It's not like I hit a sixer of each, um, but yeah, they
That's why he's got pink eye.
yeah.
He's got beer eye.
Got that beer. Oh, real quick. Okay, two things I gotta tell you, and then we can get. We're like on the verge of like getting into ratings, right?
Oh yeah, it's WWYBD time.
Okay, good. Quick. Two things happen real quick. Tonight, where I was scrolling through the guide on the TV, and immediately, it was Finley, but immediately he was just like, "Cops? You gotta be kidding me! I didn't know that was on." And then
Oh
boom,
my.
we watched Cops, and then immediately when we watched Cops, there was a guy going 2 miles an hour and they pulled him over 2 miles an hour and they
Yeah.
pulled him over and he had eyes that looked like mine but obviously he was under the influence of something else. So anyways, back to the old bombshell blonde Hefeweizen from Southern Star in Conroe, Texas. Shoot with your WWYBD.
This is a festival walking around beer for me.
Festival walking
I'm
around beer.
I'm outside. I
Okay.
can specific like I went to the German Fest in Tomball. I guess about a month ago, a little bit more than a month ago now. and I could have seen myself drinking this while walking around, going through, looking at all the tents and whatnot, and getting food and hanging out. That's kind of what it is for me.
Particular time of year, or doesn't matter?
Definitely not cold weather. Um,
Okay.
really is it? Okay. Well, yeah,
Yeah, so
definitely,
I dip.
definitely not cold
Yeah.
weather for me. It's definitely like in Texas at least, like pre-spring, right, where it's not like too hot, not too cold type situation.
Okay. So this one for me is a stereotypical beer garden, and I mean that in the most sincere terminology possible. Like just pea gravel ground or like that
Ooh.
crushed red gravel ground, but there's some grass that's growing through it. All your picnic tables are wood, but they're painted. That's the big difference here. They're not untreated, they're painted, usually brown, like a mocha color, but chipped to shit because there's a lot of traffic going through here. Might be live music that's by request with a tip bucket, might not be, but they definitely have like overshaded vents, and it's always got to be at nighttime when it's cool. So I need nighttime, I need cool, and I need outdoor beer garden that's covered. Inner city, we're not talking remote. So we're not talking like Gristmill River Road beer garden. We're talking like in city with the canvas tarps at night when it's cooler, no moisture. I'm drinking this as I sit on one of the mocha brown benches.
Ooh, that's specific.
It is very
That's a
specific.
vivid image. That's you know what? I think that's when it's either a pivotal great beer or horrible beer. Whenever you can pinpoint exactly what you're doing in that detail.
Yeah, so I mean my score, because I don't change scores, my score is gonna probably not necessarily reflect that, even though I really, really do like this beer and it's drinkable and it's, again, I'll get into this. Definitely not a fridge sitter.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend, um and I will buy it again, I'm sure.
Hmm.
But yes, it just, whenever I tasted it immediately, and I don't know if some of that's because, other Hefeweizens kind of give me that vibe, but that's what I'm doing with this one.
Okay. Well, speaking of ratings, let's get into them, and I'm gonna let you go first this week, actually, because
All
I went
right.
last week.
So again, she's a hyphy. And compared to my foundation of a hyphy, here's what I know. Entry, I have it a 3. Good, solid. Aftertaste, I have it a 3. Solid, stays consistent. Body, I have it a 3. I think she's just right there, middle of the road. Color, I did go back and forth. Like, it did have a little bit of a haziness to it, a little bit of a cloudiness to it. I'm not super familiar with where Hefeweizen should be. But I felt comfort in it, so I gave it a 4. Bitterness, I have a 2. And which, now that you, after, it doesn't matter, my score is my score, but now after that you tell me, it is a little more bitter than the standard Hefeweizen, at least based on what Google said. But I feel like it needed a little more, because you know where I sit with sweetness, and I know that all wheats are going to have a sweetness to them, an unfinished kind of sweetness to them. I needed a little more for me. Anyway, so bitterness gets a 2. Acidity gets a 3. Again, it's just kind of spot on. And then fizz gets a 4. So I think my total is 1, 2, 3, 12, 16,
Counting them up, baby. Counting them up.
20, 22. But again,
All right.
I don't want you to think that I just didn't like this beer. I'll definitely buy it again. I'm going to like it again. As you noted at the very beginning, I go through wheat phases. If I was at the peak of my fucking wheat phase right now, these might all be, which is not fair, but these might all be 4s across the board. Every 3
Yeah.
becomes a 4, every 4 becomes a 5, every 2 becomes a 3. She might be
Yeah.
setting it on fire. I'm not in that place, and I still like it.
So to go on that point, because we're pretty different on this one,
Good,
surprisingly.
send it.
To go on to that point, obviously, like I said, I can pretty much drink a Hefeweizen whenever, and I'm into it. So I've got it, my entry at 4 and my aftertaste at 4. I agree. I mean, I think it's pretty much, it's not like the best I've ever had, but it's pretty spot on for a Hefeweizen. A little bit better than spot on for me. Body, I have it a 4. I think, I think it's great flavor. I think it's smooth. I think it goes down well. Color, I had it a 5. I've had quite a bit of Hefeweizen on tap, and that's pretty much what they look like. The head was great, and it seemed to dissipate pretty quick as well. Bitterness, I also have it a 5. I think it's pretty spot on, and it's
Well,
almost what?
no, one point I want to make. So, I mean, I'm leaving my score as it is, but I think maybe I broke my own rule that I try to reiterate all the time. I based it off of what bitterness I wanted versus what bitterness I associate with the Hefeweizen. But
Oh yeah.
okay, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, as far as bitterness goes, for me, it's pretty much. I've with the bitterness, I have tasted this same bitterness when I've had them out at places, right, where I order them on tap and whatnot. Acidity, I have it a 4. I think a Hefeweizen is kind of supposed to be sweet like that. Obviously, I mean it's a wheat, but it is a little bit sweeter than I've had others. But it's still better than it's still not as sweet as like the average that I've had, if that makes sense. And fizz, I have it a 4. I've had some burps here and there. None of them have been unenjoyable. None of them have been loud.
Dude, one thing that I like about it, and I might pay for it later. There's like an indigestion thing that sits right here that I'm
Mhm.
enjoying about it. I know that seems fucked up to say out loud, but there's like a warmness and fuzziness and congestiveness that's sitting right here that might be from the beer. Hell, it could be from dinner. But I'm enjoying it now. Probably gonna pay for it later, but I'm enjoying
Maybe,
it now. And that you,
maybe
yeah,
so. So that brings my total to a 30. Um, and to piggyback on what you said, definitely not a fridge sitter for me. In this case, we both have got 6 packs of this one instead of splitting them like we normally do. So I'm
yeah.
extremely excited about that. Um, I should point out also, incredibly drinkable. Like right as soon as I
Oh
took the
yeah,
first sip, I was like, wow, this is going to go down quick and easy. And it did. And it was
they
enjoyable the
do.
whole time.
And even with, I mean, obviously I don't say we drink a lot, but like obviously we drink enough. I will say, feels a lot more stout than a 5.2
Yeah.
to me right now. And I
Yeah.
had a decent dinner.
Yeah, it feels more stout than a 5.2 for sure. It's
Yeah.
gotten a little bit of buzz, but extremely drinkable, goes down easy. Definitely not a fridge sitter. Will be purchasing again for sure, and I will especially be purchasing and trying on tap when I can get to the tap room when they reopen for sure.
Absolutely. I wish, you know what, I think it's time that they put if they're on schedule, they should put a ticker on the website.
Yeah, like a
You know what I mean?
countdown.
56 days, 29 hours, 56 days, 23 hours and 15 minutes or whatever. That'd
Yeah,
be cool.
be nice. But all right, it is time for us, or time for me to tell you to go follow us on social media on Twitter and TikTok at Off the Tap Pod, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Off the Tap Podcast.
The homework this week, because I didn't give out any during the actual episode, is for Southern Star itself. A call to arms for you guys. With the new branding that's at the top of the can and the way that you've taken Bombshell into multiple different styles with multiple different ladies riding the bomb, it's time that you guys made some captain's hat. I'm talking full rope, tall peak, thick brimmed, fucking captain's hats with Southern Star on it. It's like fertilizer hats that are mesh back. It's no one can turn it down.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen.